Sandy, and in particular thank you Scott and Joe for asking me to present a landowner's perspective at the conference today. It's quite an honour, and I'm very aware of the fact that many landholders have been involved in this project, and really I'm just one of them, and each of us has our own perspective, and it's kind of great to find out how we all fit in. But I've been asked to give my perspective, and so that's what I'm going to do. And in particular, I'm interested in trying to show people how being involved in the Koala Connections project has been, at least for me as a farm manager, part of a much larger thing in what I'm trying to do in terms of developing a working farm to the point I'd like to get it. And so, by necessity, it has to be a little bit personal. But I'm glad telling stories is the theme of the day, because it's all a big story. So, I'm a co-owner with other family members, but I'm the principal manager of this farm. I love this piece of land, and I think it's extremely beautiful, and I'm very lucky to live there. This is the view from what I call my office. It's the hill where I go at the end of the day and return phone calls and do my emails and texting. And it's very nice to look out across this corridor of vegetation, which might look like a bit of scrubby rubbish to some people, but to me this is what we've been working on for the last 3 years, to build this koala corridor across the property. So I see it a little bit better every day when I go up to the top of the hill, and I get that little bit of pleasure there. To put things more into perspective, and I'll just, that's where we are. It's those 3 little titles of land that are amalgamated, and it's almost in the geographical centre of Byron, Shire. The area totals 60 hectares, and we sit right against the escarpment. So it's in the Wairakam Valley, it's right against the escarpment and crosses into this wildlife corridor where we have the Kurabell Ridge wildlife corridor coming down to Byron, and the Niagara Ridge running down to the Niagara Nature Reserve. So we're kind of tucked in up against there. It's part of the Wairakam Valley, which was virtually 100% cleared when it was settled for dairy farming at the end of the beginning of the 20th century, and to the point where we really have very sketchy knowledge of what the actual vegetation on this farm, original farm, was like, which has made things difficult. To be a little bit personal about how I ended up here, I am a third generation of farmer. Both my grandfather and father were sold to settlers on new farms in Western New South Wales after the First World War and the Second World War. So I grew up in the Murray-Darra irrigation area. My parents moved there as newlyweds after the war, when this big sheep station was cut up to give the soldiers something to do, and they set about dairying and growing rice using irrigation. By the time I was growing up, the 60s and the 70s, I was really witnessing the whole thing falling apart. The sort of traditional self-sustaining farm life was being eroded by the demands of having to spend more money on bigger machinery to grow bigger crops, reducing crop rotation, and the land was really starting to suffer from salinity. It was an environmental disaster that I was sort of coming of age in. And the message to the children was very much, just get out of here, find something else to do. So as soon as you finished high school, you got on the train and you left. And that's what happened to all 6 children. So I left at 17 and went off to Sydney and, did all the things you're meant to do. Got a university degree, a career, travel around the world, did this, did that. But for many of you that have grown up on farms, there's something that sort of sits there inside and you just miss it. And you wonder how things could have been different, and why it had to fall apart, and what I would have done if I was given the chance to have a go at turning the farm around and changing the way we farmed. So that just sat with me for 30 years until that little right-hand block of the farm was bought as a place for me to retreat to on holidays. And I started trying to find a house in there amongst the lantana and found out what a camp for laurel was. I really knew nothing about this type of countryside. It's completely different to what I'd grown up in. But I just started to get more and more attached to it, and then the other 3 blocks came up for sale in 2010. And so I sold my home and bought them, and moved up here. And those 3 blocks had been one of the original dairy farms that had been completely cleared at the turn of the 19th century, and then in 1954 it had largely been abandoned as a working farm, and so from 1954 till 2010 had been sort of left with just a few cattle on agistment, around about 40 head, and it was falling apart. So we had a clean slate to sort of put things into practice. So it wasn't a whim, it was something that sat inside me and I wanted to do for a long time. But you can imagine after you make these decisions, you go through a period where you think, what the hell have I done? I've thrown away my home in Sydney, my career, all my money, and this is what I had to replace it. This is a satellite photo that I think Justin supplied to me from Byron, Shire when I first got the place. And there's a few things I'd like to point out. This is the house. By 2010 we had found it inside the lantana. And we'd removed the camp for laurel infestation up the driveway. You could actually drive into the place. What you see is a place that's been cleared. There was not a single intact internal fence, and half the boundary fences were missing. We have these rows and rows of camp for laurels across the property where the old fences were in the dairying days. In that little clump, that's not native bush, that's a house in there. That's the old homestead and garden. I didn't know it was there for the first few months. And the old dairy bales, the road had been closed to that side of the farm. This row of trees was where they bulldozed the hillside of Camp for Laurel and left it there to reroot it. And this was a whole hillside of Camp for Laurel infestation. There's a little tiny bit of hoop pine in the middle of that, and there was a marble wood up there. There were 3 tiny little pockets here, here, here and here on the original home block of dry rainforest remnant, but they were hard to find as well. There was some weeds and things in there. So that's what it looked like from the air. One of the first things I did was hire a glider, and I wanted to fly over it and see what it looked like from the top. And that was pretty depressing. Kind of looks beautiful, you know, I go, oh wow, isn't it beautiful, it's green. What I see when I look at it now is ecological devastation and an uneconomic farm that no one has been able to live on for 70 years. This is a road, a creek bank around a cattle camp. There's an old roadway there where the dairy cattle used to came through, it was still covered in beer bottles. And we've got this whole creek line with nothing on it. First time I put cattle in there, the first week I had to go and shoot a cow that got stuck in that swamp down there. It was so swampy I couldn't even get the tractor in. So clearly this wasn't a place particularly conducive to farming. And I wanted to set up a cattle stud and breed cattle. Got more photos. That's this horrible eroded area. The house you can't see, it's in there, it's all lantana. There's these long strips of Camp for Laurel, and beneath them was impenetrable lantana and senna. These are all things I didn't even know about when I moved up here. Privet, and in between it was the old rusting barbed wire and the fence posts. Many of you had properties that looked like this, I'm sure. Complete surprise to me. That's the cattle camp. You couldn't even put a it was hard to map holes in that. We're going to plant this with trees down the track in conjunction with Koala Connections. You can see the degraded pasture land, the cattle tracks coming back to this putrid little stream and wetland flowing through there. Camphor hillsides, and these are all little camphor trees, so this hillside is kind of moving down, the old big pine hiding in there. That's another view of the cattle camp and the eroded gravel banks that form the edge of the stream. I tried to find some native trees. That's a fence line. See the old post in there? There's all barbed wire going through here. There were a few remnants of previous residents. There were 5 car bodies like that. That's family coming up to say, what the hell have you done? This is the bank. I thought it'd be a nice place to have some trees. That's me looking at a hard pond dog. I found one growing under the camphor tree next to the cattle waterhole. There was this stunted giant water garden and a poor old coolamon tree that looked like it had been blown off by lightning sometime, hiding on the creek. There were only 6 native trees I could find along that whole kilometre of creek. The house. So, look, what do you do? For 6 months I just walked around the place trying to get my head around where to start and to get a planning thing going. And then very luckily CMA came up with some funding and then to do a bit of a farm plan. And I started drawing things and working things out. And they were going to pay for a bush regenerator to help conduct a farm plan. And in a great stroke of luck, I came across a man who's sitting over there, Dave Rawlins. And he was a saviour. I brought him out there to show him my kind of ideas. And I thought he'd probably run away. But he thought that was all very doable. He's got great optimism. And that he'd write a plan and help me with sorting it out. And he wrote this plan. And 6 years later, Dave still comes out and works on the property with me on our regen day. 1 day a fortnight, we do regen. And it's Dave and me and whoever else we can drag in to help us. And we've been doing that for over 5 years now. And that's where Koala Connections come in, and I want to see how it's fitted into what we've been doing. Running out of time already. So the important thing were we found zones where, look, I just had this idea, wouldn't it have been great if when they cleared this valley they left 15% of the vegetation, and we probably could have all survived on 85% of the farmland. We're not even using most of it now. So I wanted to get up to 15%. So we drew these things and I thought, well, we'll do this zone along here to join up the little rainforest remnants. I mean, no one else would even call them remnants, they're so small. We'll do the camphor infested hillside because I'm never going to clear it and never going to get cattle up there anyway, it's too steep. And I really want to cover up that ugly creek zone. So we had zone 1, zone 2, zone 3, and I thought this would probably take the rest of my life to sort it out. So we started work. This is the plantings. The first year we got a little grant from Brunswick Valley Land Care, and so we were able to plant 200 trees along that zone and help join up the rainforest remnants and started weeding it. 2012, Forest Links had a bit of a grant thing going. I wasn't very keen. I certainly want plantations on the property, but they weren't too fussy. They seemed desperate to give away the money, so we took some and we did 800 trees. We started planting the creek line out. And then lo and behold, Koala Connections comes into the picture. It was a godsend, it was a saviour. Joe Green turns up, how many trees do you want to plant here? So we fast-tracked the whole development. What I thought we were going to do, a few hundred trees every year, we decided to go for it. We're going to plant 2,200 trees on this and get the whole friggin' creek planted in here. I didn't realise how much follow-up work it was going to require. So planning is a feel-good exercise, but that's just nothing. Here we are with some rig-in volunteers and Dave. Joe must have been taking the photo, I don't know. When we finished planting 2,200 trees, we thought we were pretty damn good. It took quite a few days, but we planted out that whole rest of that creek line. We're a little scaled back the expectations because we're busy, trying to maintain the 2,200. But March was such a good time to plant. We're going to plant every March, so another 900 trees, and then we started doing fancy things like little bush remnants and bits around the fencing. By 2015, I got a watering system in for the cattle, so I could fence off all the old water holes, and we started planting them out. We started planting the edges of the regen, and on it went. Just quickly, this is what the farm looks like today. The ecological restoration, of which Koala Connections has really been, the saviour, the instrumental saviour, has gone in hand with turning it back into a productive farm. We've had to put in cattle yards, a laneway. The farm is now divided into 21 paddocks, and we do strict rotational grazing, so a paddock is grazed for 2 days, then rested for 40 days. And that has really made a difference. It's mainly electric fencing, and we've been able to secure our plantings with simple 1 or 2 wire electric fencing because the cattle are moving to fresh pastures every day. They don't want to push through electric wires to get to vegetation, and that's saved a lot of money. And then we've started planting little just paddock trees. There's a whole quarter of the farm that no trees left by just hanging little strings off the electric fencing around what's a water hole. We've infilled the edges of the natural regen as we slowly poison out the camphor. We've done all the fancy bits, but Joe was telling me about obsessive planting disorder. It's very hard to stop planting trees. These are just a couple of before and after shots. That's us doing the 14 plantings, just 2 years ago, and we've got the 2013 planting, so 2 years on the left. It all looks pretty dismal after 2 years. It was pretty awful. That was the forest lynx planting. But you don't give up, and then this is the photo. Oh, I skipped one. I must be out of order. That's where the cow, I had to shoot the cow down that swamp, and now it's all fenced off and we've got all these wonderful trees there. That's the one from 2 shots ago, I'm out of order, sorry. So now 2 years old and 4 years old. They're growing faster every year. The soil's improving. And what I also want, I guess it's not Koala Connection, but you see the quality of the pasture, and I don't know whether it's planting the trees or the pasture rotation, but that is taken at the same time of year as that, 2 years later. And I'm now running over 80 head of cattle on the 85% that's still being grazed, as opposed to 40 head on the when it was completely grazed. So we've doubled the production of the farm. And there we are. And these are the little paddock plantings we do. We can just quickly put in a star picket and a couple of electric cords and grow trees out in the paddock. I need, with 20 paddocks, I've got to get shade into all these paddocks, so that's quite important to keep the cattle happy. I've got lovely shade banks along many of the cattle paddocks already now. They never go through that electric fence. You can go into the gully and it's all beautiful. We've got little plantings along the cattle laneway. This is infilling the edge and getting a bit of koala food into what is largely rainforest that's regenerating as we poison out a camphor infested hillside. That's the water hole. That used to be one of the principal cattle watering places. With by putting in a reticulation system, gravity-fed reticulation, we can now fence off all these old water holes. And that's it, 2 years later. And the water's come back to life as well. this is obsessive. I really want to pay tribute to all the volunteers that helped me. That's Joe, but also a friend called Janet who has come down to help plant every year for 5 years. She drives down from Brisbane to plant for the day, and she's an absolute dynamo. And I'm not allowed to stop planting or I'll lose her. That's getting ready for our final planting, which wasn't even Koala Connections. We run out of money, so we had to fund ourselves this year. But we couldn't stop. We had to put in another 500 trees. And there's the last of the trees planted a few weeks ago. And I haven't even spoken about koalas, so I had to put in a photo. We have seen a koala. It was next to the planting in a gum tree. But in the early days, often you would see a koala going across this green wilderness and without a food tree or shelter tree in sight. And I don't know where they were coming from or where they're going, but they do cross the farm. And I really hope that one day those trees have a side benefit of helping the koalas as well as all the other animals out there. I never expected to have koalas on the farm. That would be just the icing on the cake.